You know that I'm falling apart without you. You know that I'm falling apart without you.
Hi, I'm Francois from Production Music Live, today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at the style of Palastic Decision from Selected, the Deep House label, and we have a fully arranged track here in Ableton Live, stock effects and instruments plus Serum, modeled after this track with different harmonies, different melodies, different vocals and PML sounds, and it's fully arranged. It's a Spotify edit, bit more than 2 minutes, and it starts with the verse.
You know that I'm falling apart without you.
And these chord key hits, and then we start with the hook.
Can't you see I need you? Can't you see I need you?
And then we bring in snare rolls and build it up, and then we get into this drop with these brass bass hits that are coming in on our bass here. Second and fourth one early, and first and third one on the beat. And then the drums are coming in 8 bars later.
Can't you see I need you?
And then essentially we repeat what we had so far. So again, we bring the verse, just like in the beginning. We then bring this build-up part with the snare rolls.
I need you. Can't you see I need you?
Yeah, another drop and basically a repetition of what happened here, and then we are already done with this track. We have groups of drums. That's our drum loop. Then this is what our bass sounds soloed. We'll take a look at that in a minute, and these are remaining instruments. Very simple, straightforward, and in the build-ups we have those keys. Bunch of layers with a piano, and a bunch of effects just for impacts. And then we have our vocals track here where we have an atmo. From the PML Vocals Pack Volume 2. And then we have these phrases.
Can't you see I need you?
Yeah, so that's the setup here. We have a return channel reverb and an echo, and our master has a bit of compression, saturation, and 2 limiters. And we are taking the 2 return channels and we are sending them into this sidechain here before they get sent into the master. So we have a bit more control over the tails of these reverbs and echoes. Okay, so let's get through it. We can analyze these elements step by step, starting with our drums with the kick, and you need a pointy simple kick. Not too long, this one is fairly short here. And all these sounds, this project file and 4 other project files are part of the new Deep House sound pack we put out on Production Music Live called Reflections. It also contains a sample pack for Deep House, and it contains a Serum preset pack with Serum presets in these styles. So everything you need, feel free to check out the link in the description. That's also where you find this kick and the clap. It's a pretty short clap as well. And then we are sending that one into our return channel A here with 3 seconds of decay time. The drumming here is really straightforward. If we take a look at what's happening in the build-up, we are using the snare roll. Quickly copying that over. It's 16th notes, and it's a snare roll, and it gets filtered up with this auto filter. That's really all that's happening there. And at the same time, in the build-ups, we are using this 909 hi-hat. You probably know that one really well in so many house tracks. So that's the drumming in the build-up. But then in our drop, you can see in some parts we're only playing the kick and the bass sounds. Then we are bringing in the clap, and then we are bringing in the shaker. Super short. We are also getting rid of this initial attacky part of that and just focusing on the belly. And in position 3, that's where it's placed. And now we have a bunch more shakers. We have this hi-hat loop, but let's actually look at something that's more on the offbeat. So those two. This one is creating a bit of texture. And you see we had to clean up some of the resonances here. And this one is creating a noise. So I need to turn off the bass sounds. And now the positioning is important. This one drags behind, so what's going on? You can see the noisy one, and this one is not exactly in position. So this one is slightly off, and that's what helps you make it swing, make it groove. So we are slightly late, you could argue, on that sound, and if we are setting it to 16th notes, you can see it's just late to the show, and that's what makes things interesting. Together with the claps. Okay, and that's our basic setup here, and now we just have to throw in a bunch more shakers. This one has a bit longer attack flow here. What is this one doing in solo? You can also see this one is also a little off in the positioning. It's also a little late to the show. You know, this is important for this selected type deep house style. You don't want it all on grid. You want some of these elements to be a little late. So if we just play those two late elements together with the kick, you'd be like, what? What's going on? Right? But then you put in the ones that are on grid. Yeah, and it's Palastic, Bella Fantastic. And then shaker. Okay, and we are adding in 3 more loops. This one here from the Premium Volume 6, our drum sample pack series. Put together by Tim Engelhardt, T.E. Tim Engelhardt. We're filling it out now, and we have this shaker loop behind it. That one is from Chots, from Steel for Talent, and the Italian Stallion group. And then another head loop from the Premium Volume 5, which sounds like this. And all together, the entire drums. So with these 3 loops, we need a bit more material around the main setup that we just looked into with those 2 late elements. That is super important. Then we have that set up, and you can really exchange these drum or head loops or shaker loops. Some other ones will also work. Just make sure you get a similar swing to it, so it's not acting counter everything else. Now we go into the bass group, and we have this reese sub bass element here. And we're playing E, G sharp, B, F sharp, and 1 and 3 on grid, 2 and 4 we are playing early. And that is, you know, Serum, saw waves, and these are the sub frequencies here generating our reese sub, and we are cutting that off around 200, and that is the sub separation from the mid layer here that is sort of being blended in over there. And in this case, we are using 3 layers. And that sound is a bit more tricky to put together. We need a bunch of layers for this sort of brass stab with a tail to it. And it's also being sent through the same reverb we sent our clap into. And let's quickly listen to the layers. So here's the short brassy attack part. There's a bit of the gnarly texture with a longer decay time and release time. And this dry one here is just, you know, adding a bit of the crunch to it. So back to the first one. And you can see here, this attack, 76 milliseconds on the low pass filter. Decay 700. You have to play around with those when you try to set up something like this, and then, you know, reference it to the track that you're trying to mimic or to what you have in mind, and then just play around with the attacks until you are satisfied. And you also have to match that a little bit in the first envelope here as well. Makes a big difference, you know, if that releases doing stuff like that, or if it's doing this. Quickly taking a look at the matrix. So cutoff is being controlled by envelope 2 and also by envelope 3. So let's take a look at what's going on there. That one is just adding a bit of initial extra on our filter. You can see that here, 65 milliseconds. Super short decay. So in order to really get it punchy, they probably didn't do it with Serum, but we are trying to model it here with Serum. So that's why we have to do a bunch of shenanigans. This project file is part of that Deep House pack. If you really want to dive deeper into how to sound design this from scratch, you can check out the entire chain here. I'm quickly opening it up so you can see it once. We are basically cleaning up for a bunch of resonant frequencies. We're making sure the mid side is controlled on that sound, and on the second one, which I'm also going to open up. This is our longer candidate, and we are having oscillator A here with 16 voices. And you can see in the envelope 1 and 2 here that, you know, it's being released for a bit longer. kind of fading out right before the next note hits. So your sound design and your note information are closely tied to one another. I mean, there's also this type of 10 walls bass at the end of the day. And now if we are playing those two together, that's what we're getting. And now what are we adding with the third one? The third one is adding this power in the middle, gnarly element. Dry also, so we just need a little bit of more dry information. Yeah, and that is our setup for this bass element, and then we have a mid reese layer behind that. And this one is basically adding in something that's missing from our sub. So the sub re is really taking care of the low frequencies there, and then this one is adding a bit of gnarly. And it's really distributed carefully here over this frequency range. Eight voices, 10 voices, super wide. Here we have this kind of LFO tool custom made in Ableton to sidechain it, and then there's this auto filter here which gets automated over time over the arrangement of the track whenever needed. For example here, let's quickly listen in what that does.
You know that I'm falling apart without you.
It's also a nice technique, by the way, that's often used in selected tracks. They are sometimes not playing their drums in the first bar. They're waiting, leaving room for the vocal, and then they're kicking in the drums a bit later. It's not unusual. Heard that in a lot of tracks from Avion, New Aspect, Yuma, these guys. And so in our break part, we're using this simple reese here. Just in the background as a foundation. And now you could argue, hey, but this is still pretty low to play more voices on a bass sound. Okay, then drag it up. I would argue this is a bit more Spotify music than club music. So for the most part, people listen to that in stereo. Some of these Spotify playlists with these selected tracks are massive. So it's more designed, it feels like, for the Spotify streaming listening pleasure. Okay, so going on now to the instruments group here, where we have these short sine plucks. What's going on there? It's kind of like our tom in some ways, if you play that together with a kick. Behaves a bit like a high tom. And then we are putting in some percussive clicky information to emphasize on the attack of the sound, and we are also building that one up with Serum. So how do you build up some clicky percussive element in Serum? You need to control the pitch. So you take LFO2, set it up that way, and then assign it to the chorus pitch of oscillator A, which plays a sine wave, and then it's going quickly down in pitch. And that's how you get this clicky hit, cleaning up the lows and the highs here, and we are blending that in with this sine pluck. And in this case, we are also playing a sine wave with a bit of reverb on top. And we're not sending that one directly into our return channels. Okay, so together. And now we have this pad atmo behind it, just to fill out our mid frequencies. Bunch of voices in this sound. Saw waves, 9 and 2 octaves are being covered. Very straightforward. It's pretty straightforward. We are really emphasizing on these bass brass hits, and now we're just throwing in this vocal atmo behind everything. And how does that move so much? We're removing some of the mid frequencies here, sending it through this reverb, multi-band compression. Okay. What's interesting and makes it move is this auto pan here, which is set to phase 0, amount up to 70%, and we are having it sort of move back and forth at a rate of 1/8. And that is sort of acting as a drone atmo element. And then at times we are placing our main vocal in there as well.
You know that I'm falling apart without you. You know that I'm falling apart without you.
And the vocals getting a bit of delay.
You know that I'm falling apart without you. You know.
And also a bit of reverb here. We are soaking that one in reverb and delays, and then we are sidechaining the thing to the kick. This is our drop setup, and there's a bunch more instruments here that are playing in the verse and in the build-ups. We haven't looked at those yet, so let's take a look at the piano setup. So we have E major here in our first chord. And I can bring up the B, we can see it better. That's a major third followed by a minor third, and B is just voiced down. And then we are following with G sharp minor. Again, can voice the third up. Minor third followed by major third. Root is G sharp, and then we are going to B. Oh, we have to bring F sharp up. So it's B major, major third, followed by minor third. And then we are going back down to F sharp. And we can bring up C. And it's F sharp major. Has this major quality to it as well. So that is our chord progression here. You could argue we are in E Lydian or in G sharp minor. Depends a bit on where you feel like this track is resting. And this is a piano sound we put into, you can use the Ableton piano or any piano plugin that you enjoy, that you have at home. But we set it up in a way so everybody can use it with quickly recorded keystone pianos. So it's very compatible with a minimum setup. And what's going on top? We are playing this square key pluck thing. Just hitting the keys quickly here. And we have square waves playing in Serum for this sound, so rounded to square. And one voice, 8 voices. Bit of reverb on top with 6 seconds decay time. Works nicely together with the pianos. And then we have this square pluck. And like, really? Is that needed? This is just adding a little bit of texture in there as well. We're beefing up the sound a bit here. We need a bit more power, but we don't need the power on all these notes. So we're splitting it out. And then here, as the build-up continues, we have this lead atmo, the house string on top of everything. So if we are saying we are an E Lydian, that would be our 5th. And if we were saying we are in G sharp minor, then it's our 3rd. Both works. 5th is always nice. You can also play the root note. Root note also works. And on top of that, we have this Sine pluck. What a nice sound. I like it. It's just a sine wave. Sometimes all you need is a sine wave and an envelope and a filter. And you have a mood going. 6.5 seconds of decay time on the reverb. Very pretty. Yeah, so there we go. That is our setup. Quickly looking at the effects here, nothing special, a bunch of explosions. Uplifter. And impact. Custom made to sort of fit the exact sound design of this underlying reference track. Let's sum up what we've learned. We have very straightforward drums here, very pointy kick, very pointy clap sounds. If we go back to quickly listening to them. Long reverb tail on the clap, and then most of the drums are pretty straightforward and nothing crazy, but there's 2 elements that require our attention. So far so good, but now we are introducing a bit of late comers to the show. The shaker. This one is really making that thing swing. And the second element in our 4th position, which is also late, as we saw in the grid here. There we go. That is our deep house drum setup, and then we're just filling out the range here. And in the build-up part, we went for snare rolls and also for those 909 hats, which also sound nice. So much about the drums, and then we let's solo the kick and we go take a quick summary look at our sub. We have this reese bass below everything. Super sustained, and then those brass hits. separated out, so we are making sure that these frequencies are not clashing too harshly. So this one stops playing, the reese in the subs stops playing here, and the other ones are sort of picking up right there. It's really about the length of the attack, the decay and the sustain and the release here, the ADSR. And then we are blending in this mid crunchy element to have enough power going. And now it's really not much that's still needed, because these are the protagonists of our stage here. And now we just sort of built our own high tom. Filling out with a bit of pad atmo here.
You know.
And then we are using the vocal atmo as a texture drone type thing in the background, and then at times we're placing the main phrase on top. Yeah, and if we go over to the build-up parts, we have the pianos playing, very straightforward. And on top we have this square pluck sitting, or the square keys sitting. And later we are adding in another one on top to fill out the frequency range even more with the Sine plug. Plus, for the tension, we are playing the typical house lead string on top of everything. And now it's really about having great moody vocals on top of the entire thing, and your track is basically ready for Spotify. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little session. Feel free to check out the link in the description to the Soundpack Reflections, also to our music theory class for writing melodies, chords, and harmonies for deep house, melodic techno. We also have a full Melodic House Start to Finish Academy, linking that in the description as well, where you learn the entire process from start to finish. Also, feel free to check out the vocal packs linked in the description. And if you're interested in everything, check out the PML Everything bundle linked in the description as well, giving you access to fantastic value in sounds and courses. So thank you for your time and attention. Let's have a full playback, and I'll talk to you again soon.
You know that I'm falling apart without you. You know that I'm